Guys, I want to kind of do something a little bit different tonight. I'm going to open up for a little conversation between the group if for anybody who wants to share here in a second. But what I want us to be thinking about is over the last few months, we've sort of worked through sort of a series of ideas and topics that are focused on two things. One, how important it is for us to understand that we are eternal, that we live forever, that what I might see when I look at Randy is not what's really there. His soul is what God is hungry for, and his soul is what is hungry for God. And we started all that idea off with an example about a river keeper, and as the water flowed down, if you don't keep the river, the source clean, when it gets to the bottom, it's murky and it's gross. And so we talked about how do we keep that source that starts off so pure, how do we keep it clean? And we talked about prayer, we talked about time with God, we talked about an assortment of things. And then we sort of segued into the idea when the prodigal son comes home, and we've all been that. And we've all been that person. We've all been that lost person that does come home. But we don't want to be the brother that's in that story. We don't want to be the one that has a temper tantrum, throws a pity party, doesn't enjoy the beauty of what's happening in that restoration. And since we've talked about that, we've talked about being a blesser, and we've talked about not projecting our past junk into what's right in front of us, and how do we process all of that. So what I'd like to kind of, if we can, sort of, if anybody wants to share, has anybody done any of that? And if so, what did you do? And how do you know God was in it? Or what did you try and you were a complete failure? And you kind of had to dust yourself off and say, I need to work on that one a little bit and go at it again. Because I think one of the greatest healing things that a group like this can do is share with one another what has been successful for one of us and what has been a struggle for someone. And then we learn from each other. And not only do I learn from something that Debbie shares, but I can also come along beside Todd when he's struggling, because I know a little bit more about what's going on. And I think this friendship and family that we have here on Thursday night is a safe place to share some of these things. So I'm just going to sort of open it up. I know this isn't exactly like a small group, and we don't want to get too detailed and things like that, and there's young folks in the room and stuff like that. So let's kind of be mindful, and let's just, if you got something to share, I want everybody to share it. If you don't have anything to share, that's fine too, but we're going to kind of keep everything on a, I guess, family-friendly level, and we're going to be mindful that there's other people that may want to talk. So we can't just take it and run with it, I guess. We can't let Gene do one of his sermon things. All right, so who's starting us off? Anybody? You people never hush most of the time. And now I need you to talk, and you ain't saying a word. Jack won't even make eye contact. And he don't usually ever hush. Oh,
give us those directions.
Okay. All right, read. I'm going to go over directions again. All right, so we've been working on this idea, two things, that we're identifying that we are eternal people. And the whole thing about Jesus going to the cross was for our eternal souls, because it was broken in the garden and it was restored. And we are going to live eternally in the presence of God. Good. Okay, so we got that part. Okay. Now, that was part A. Okay. Okay, remember from Sunday, part A. All right, so now we're gonna jump into part B for Butch. And that is, so we've identified we're eternal. And now we're also talking about, and I use the example of not being the brother, because the brother sort of epitomizes sort of uppity church folk in my mind. So we don't want to be the brother. So we're going to be a blesser. We're going to be someone that doesn't project all of our junk into the present and let that muddy up the future. And we've talked about ways we're going to be doing that, ideas, that sort of thing. And then we're going to share that. You kind of got to look there, Dean. I'm not sure. Put your glasses back on. You look smart. She told me that earlier. She said that earlier to me because I was cleaning mine because I couldn't see anybody. And she said, "You look like an idiot without your glasses." All right. So, are we clear? A and B. A and B. Okay. All right. I was being a blessing just then. All right.
You're not the brother, huh?
I'm not the brother. I'm not the brother. Okay, so somebody. Oh, listen up. All right. Anybody. If not, Amy, you can come on back up and sing that song again. All right. Deb, do you want the microphone? You want to hit? Yeah, hit it, girl. Go.
I go to meetings on Tuesday nights at that other church.
The other brother.
And it's a lot different than we do here, but I will Joey, to Jean, to James, to Randy, Kara, Janet, I have been able to take there, and I honestly feel like, they have court-ordered people that go there weekly, and some come, and even when they're finished with their signatures, and some we never see again. But I do honestly feel that everything I've learned here, that I've taken there, and had lessons with these ladies, that they have really learned from it, and hopefully changing some lives. Samantha came to the bonfire, and she continues to come on Tuesday nights. There have been times when I wanted to get up and leave and walk out, but I've been told, no, we love you here, please come back, don't stop teaching. So, I feel really blessed to be there and help those ladies, and I honestly feel like I'm helping them, and it's a blessing to me as much as it is to them. So,
Awesome. Yep.
Thank you guys for all of you for helping me learn.
Okay, I will. I haven't talked in a long time.
Oh, boy. Remember, we're going to kind of keep this. This isn't a Gene sermon. Okay.
So mine is totally different. So when we came here, I felt like Butch and I really needed the classes. But unbeknownst to me, that Joanne thought we'd be good with the kids. And I was like, what?
That's a real nice song.
But what I found out through that, and even with Sunday school, that what I think that I should be doing, God thinks differently. And I think that I'm more open than I used to be about that. And I've mentioned several times Jean doing the lesson on Jonah. Jonah was running, and I think that's what I did for, a long time, that I ran because I wanted to do what Tina wanted to do, because I was smarter than God. and I got punished for that too. It was a hard, long road, but I finally, realized it. But too, that the kids here, and my first thing with them is, I want them to know that I'm a sinner. So when I come in, and I have things that I want them to open up about, I have my own, and I think it's so important for them to understand that, none of us are any better than the other. I know you think you're better. Your glasses, your beard, you know, the bald head, you got it going on, but I got earrings. But anyway, the kids, it's just has shocked me. It really has shocked me what they're going through, because I never thought about it being the kids could benefit, because you know, there's things in life that we just grow up and we just do what our family does and we don't know how to cope. And that's where a lot of this stems from. We're just people trying to make it in the world. We're trying to do right. And if we find God, and that God, you know, I found God, we just try to do what we've been taught. And sometimes, you know, that's not good. You know, coping is not the easiest thing to do. But so with the kids, I'm trying to get them, you know, to a point that they can cope with just everyday stuff. So what is it? We're just learning about a week or two. It's like, okay, so when you get upset and you get angry, what happened right before that? What changed it? So you can get down, what is the root of the issues? And if we just stop ourselves in the act, which is really hard to do, because you're just, I mean, if you're furious, it's really hard. Because more than likely the furious was added up with other stuff. And then it's this big explosion, but, you know, and I don't want to take all your time, Eugene, but the kids are, you know, and I really mean it, you know, y'all pray for them. They have struggles in schools, they have struggles on how to deal with things, and when they come, I can see it on their faces, and I'll tell them, I said, I can tell your faces say, I don't want to be here. I said, I have that space. Nobody can look at my face and they'll say, what's wrong with you? Because I have the face. But I know how I struggled when I was in school at their age, and so, and it's a lot to do with self-worth and confidence and those kind of things, and so I'm glad that I didn't run like Jonah did. I finally stopped and listened.
Good, thank you. Anybody else? Quietest I've ever heard you, Jack.
I don't know what to say.
All right, well, Debbie, write that down. You didn't know what to say.
For once.
At one time.
I think he's just tired.
Yeah, that's what it is. He had a rough day. You're right there.
Most people.
Joey, can I say something?
Of course you can.
Yay. I don't ever talk in public. I don't like it. I can teach kids, but I don't want to talk to adults. I don't know that I have been a blesser, but since I broke my arm, I have gotten a lot of blessings from all of y'all, because everybody stepped up to the plate, and I didn't have to be worried who's going to fix dinner, or how's it going to look, or what's it going to taste like. So I have been truly blessed for the last month, and hopefully not for much longer, but at least another 2 weeks. But I am still healing. So anyway, I just want to say thanks for everybody for being a blessing.
You're a big
Yeah, you're a blessing.
Blessing.
Definitely a blessing.
Thank you. Ken.
You're the heart of the kitchen, because of the food. You know that.
Yeah, but I couldn't do
Food
it.
is my love language.
Thank you. I know you don't like to do that, but that was nice. All right, so as somebody else is getting ready to, I'm going to hand the microphone to somebody else in a sec. We've heard, just think about what we've heard so far. People are pouring into Debbie, and then she's able to go and pour into someone else. That's a great example of what we're supposed to be doing. One of the focuses of At One from the very beginning, when Johnny and I talked about this, is it's not just about stopping some compulsive behavior problem, but it's about a discipleship walk with idea, that you're not by yourself, that it's not just coming to a meeting because it sort of fixes something in that moment. And that does happen. I'm not saying that doesn't. But the fact that what we get here, we're able to share with someone else. And then as we grow, Debbie was the first baptism here, and now she's leading things. She's somewhere else leading something else. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. Tina stopped, listened to God, and now she's pouring into someone else. And then Kathleen, who has done so much to help our Thursday night thing, we're able to help her and give it back. And part of the being a blesser is you got to be able to receive a blessing too, because that's the way God works. When we see somebody that needs something, we step up and we bless them because we have been so blessed. And so, those are great examples of exactly what this Thursday night thing is all about. We're able to help folks, we're able to teach folks, we're able to pour into the next generation. We're able to see the needs in different people's lives because of maybe what we've experienced when we were there before. And so instead of just dumping garbage into somebody, we are dumping life into someone.
And not only that, people can come in and see that we're on the other side of
Sure.
it. So
There's hope.
there's hope
Yes.
in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so that was the only way that this has ever worked,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all Jesus lovers.
All right. Anybody else? The guy on the way back. All right, I'm coming. Here we go. Feel like Phil Donahue for all the old people. You know who that is.
I hadn't seen him in a while.
I was thinking Geraldo, so I mean, older, right?
So as far as the
He's still, I don't know if
prodigal
Phil
son,
Donahue is.
other brother, I've been both.
Phil Donahue?
I've been the prodigal son
He hosted a talk
most
show.
of my life. And in the past 3 years, I've been working on myself, working on recovery, and I've honestly been the other brother more to myself than anybody. As most of y'all know, I posted on Facebook, about the struggles I've been having the past few weeks. I stood up at the little cookout that we had over at y'all's house and got accepted in the seminary. I got that paid today, so I get to start classes in this coming up week. Got a new job that worked out everything I need to do with our schedule. And then I got hit with an old addiction trying to come back to the door. And it tried to wedge its foot in there, but then I remembered from you teaching me. It was funny because that day that I got home from that I went to put my hat down in the little carry-all that I saw my surrender sheet. So I always kept everything right there. And I picked it up, and the first 2 days was hard, and that's when I started to other brother myself pretty hard. And it's just, God's worked out everything in my life that I needed him to, and then, you're about to slip up and fall and go right back to what you were doing before. And basically, then the devil tried to get a foothold in and beat me up about it, but then I remembered my chip, and I surrendered it. It took so much out of me. That's why this Sunday, I was so physically drained. I never thought I could be that physically tired from the mental battle with the devil, but it took every bit of strength I had to overcome it. And I told Gene today, the battles are lessened, but they're still there. But it's a big mountain to move. And one of those things is I've worked in industries where you have to move a lot of heavy weight, and it's always that first push that gets you. You can move tons of weight once you get it rolling, but it's just to get it rolling. It almost felt like I came to a stop this past week, but with the encouragement of everybody here, it emboldened me and strengthened me. And praying to God, like as soon as the thought Tuesdays, just basically all you guys, kind of embolden you to do that, give you the strength to do that. It's always one thing to stand up there, but you never think you do any good, you never think anybody gets anything out of it. But to have people come up and tell me that one thing I said, gave them a lot of strength. It's a blessing. That's one thing I'm trying to remember as I press on, going on this journey, is that I can be up there standing. And I am worthy of being up there standing.
All right, anybody else? One night gone quiet as another.
I will,
Okay.
but I don't wanna use that microphone.
You don't want nobody to hear you?
I
This
can
way I
speak
can
loud
heckle.
enough.
Let's see, I can heckle better with the microphone.
Okay. I don't know if a lot of y'all know my story, but my son Brandon, who's 29, has struggled with something probably since he was at least 14. And about 7 years ago, it got really bad. And Kathleen and I worked together in the school system, and I, shared a lot with her. And about that time is when I decided to get custody of Bella. And so I was granted that, and I remember calling her and telling her that day, and she said, "Okay, so am I going to see you at church on Sunday?" And I said, "Yeah," because I had been struggling. I mean, I've went to church just about all my life, but there had been things that happened, along the way to where I was mad at God. And so, I walked away. And so I started coming to Heritage, and things with Brandon wasn't getting any better. And she said, "I want you to come to church on Tuesday night, and I want you to meet somebody." And so she introduced me to Brian. And Brian and I sat there and talked for a long time, and Brian kept referencing his son Cody. And Cody is Adrian's son, actually. And I said, "Are you talking about Cody Hawkins?" He was like, "Yeah, well, Brandon and Cody were elementary school friends and in the same class, and Adrian was their class mom. So we knew each other from way back in Beulah. So it was just weird the way God, put us together." So I started going on Tuesday nights, and then I was like, well, what's this going to do for me? I'm not an addict. My kid's the addict. He's the one that needs to be here. But I got that, started building those relationships, and my son found himself in Pennsylvania with no way home, no money, and I called Brian, and Brian called Jean, and they got my kid home. And of course, it still hadn't got any better, and probably worse. But I kept going, and I felt like over these past years, it wasn't, I wasn't there to learn how to not be an addict. I was there to learn how to try to understand him better and to grow so I could be an encourager to other people. And so, I just kept praying and kept praying and kept praying, and finally God said, "Ella, get out of my way, let me work." And that was 2 years ago. And so Brandon now is in rehab, and granted it was mandated, but I don't care. When he called me, he was talking like a different person, talking about loving himself, and I need to do this for me.
and, not wanting to be around the same people that he'd been. And it just all these meetings and, you know, all the prayer, it just felt like, you know, finally, God is working. And, this is why I brought these cigarettes. Up here. But it's not, no, it's not always about you. It's about God teaching you and leading you in a direction to where that, you know, you can help other people. And it's just so refreshing to be able to come and know that, you know, you have people that you can, like I shared in small group today. I'm a good encourager. I love to tell people, you know, I miss you in church and, you know, how are you? And I'm praying for you. But, you know, I never do that for myself. But I know that other people have. And I know it's because of these groups. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I like, since we're talking about things we like, there's something special about Thursday night. Very intimate. I never leave here without going a little bit closer to y'all and a little bit closer to Jesus. I mean, but the cool thing is, there's not a whole lot of difference between Thursday nights and Sundays. You know? And hasn't always been that way. It's always, not just from where we were, but other churches. There's sometimes a lot of difference. There's the recovery group, and then there's Sundays. And one of the things, and Jeremiah said it, I think way back in Dallas, but everybody needs this, whatever this is. There's something special about this place. And, obviously it's not the place, but it's y'all, us, that God's, I was thinking about this tonight when Randy was talking, just the miraculous way that God has brought us all together. And when I first met Joey, actually months and months before I met Joey, Johnny told me probably every week, you gotta meet Joey. Y'all gonna get along. You gotta meet Joey. Joey's the coolest guy. He's really not.
Amen.
But then when I met him, I thought, man, I really like this guy. And then I thought, then I met Kara, and I thought, man, they would be really good for our church. But then they lived in Smyrna. There was nothing, and I think y'all may have visited once or something, and I thought, this is what I thought. I thought they were the other brother type people, big church people, kind of uppity people.
Bougie, I think we like.
Little bit. But Joanna and I started praying about them. And about the same time we started praying, we found out that they were moving here. And then I thought, well, they'll probably go to, like Midway, or they'll go to, whatever, Crossroads or
One of the
something.
cool churches.
But God has brought us all together. And I look around our congregation, just, there's, everywhere you look, every pew, there's somebody that's got a story.
We don't have a pew anymore.
There's everybody that's got, I spent yesterday at Emory with a little couple that sits in the back that, have not really fully connected yet, but they were amazed that we were all praying for them, and they were like, I don't know those people. And I said, yeah, but they're praying for y'all, and but just think in your mind, we through the congregation families in here that have been reconciled, there's families in here where their kids have come to know Jesus, there's all kind of transformations all through. There's a guy that's been visiting, him and his wife have visited for like the last couple of weeks, and he sent this, and said it was a pleasure to come to One Church this morning. I have not felt this comfortable in a church since I was a kid. I haven't been in a church in a long, long time. I'll see you next Sunday. I can't tell you how many times I hear that, you know, and now that puts great responsibility on us, you know, because we can't be a secret, you know, and it may come, you know, in ones, but that's okay. We're a bunch of ones, you know, and I'm glad to be a part of this, you know. I'm glad to be more a part of this than I am to be the pastor of it, you know. And this is good stuff. And Andy, if we'd have known 2 years ago when we sat around my dining room table what it was going to be like, I mean, there's no way. I mean, we were just hurt, broken people, and you know, but God said, you know, I need some hurt, broken people to make this work. And I don't want to ever forget it. Not that feeling, but who we are. You know, we're all prodigals. We're all one. It's all good stuff, Lord.
Thanks, Gene. We'll kind of start winding, I guess we'll wind up.
Oh, I was going to take an offering.
Bucket around. But that's, I appreciate you saying all that, Gene, especially the part about how cool I was. But we'll come back to that. One of the reasons I wanted us to do this is not only so we can sort of get encouragement from each other, but wanted to remind us of, and Gene did a good job of saying it, that we are growing kind of one by one, little piece here, little piece there, but God is building something from the group that's here, the group that gathers on Sunday. Something special is happening. And for some of you new folks that don't know some of the backstories on how this motley bunch of folks got together, it's amazing. It's nothing short of a miracle that we are together and that we've come together in such a random, apparently haphazard way that can only be God orchestrating something big. And I think that we just need to remind ourselves of that and remind ourselves that we're going to keep that river clean so our souls are pure and focused on Jesus, and then we don't want to be the brother. And as we do that, we're ready for whatever God brings in downstairs through those doors, whatever, out at a festival, any of the stuff that we're doing. So just keep all those things in mind, okay, guys, that God has put us together here for a reason, and it's way bigger than any of us. So I'm just proud to be a little part of it, and I love you guys. I guess on that note, we'll sort of kind of wind up. We're going to do our chips, and Andy, do you want to do another song? Okay. All right, Jeremiah, did you